Are you craving to get out and socialize, quickly jumping on every opportunity that's available for you and for your children? Or maybe you're too cautious about rejoining activities while there's still some uncertainty lingering. Let's talk about healthy boundaries as we look forward to the year ahead. You're going to enjoy today's conversation. I'm going to be talking about things are opening up, activities are becoming available, what to look for as you move forward to the school year ahead. No doubt, we're all craving social interactions. We feel like our children have missed out on some opportunities in the past 2 years. You may just be tempted to jump on every opportunity to make up for lost time as things begin to open up and activities become more available. Maybe you look at these activities as they are advertised for your children next year, and you're thinking every event, every co-op, every field trip, every class looks so exciting. You want to sign up for them all. But wait, we're going to be talking today about intentionally and with purpose signing up for those activities as we look at the school year ahead. My name is Diana Rolston. I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Spark Homeschool Parent is an encouraging community where we can talk about our fears and our questions and our doubts about homeschooling. So I want to welcome you. You're going to enjoy today's conversation if you just need some time to slow down and reflect. Asking yourself questions about these last 2 years. What are some things that have been good? A lot of good things have come out of these last 2 years of restrictions and mandates, and let's just think about those. But also we need some time to reflect on things that definitely need to change as we look forward with intention and purpose. This conversation is for you if you appreciate thoughts on how to choose which activities as they all start bombarding. Which ones do you sign up for your children? And you're going to enjoy today's conversation. If you are looking to plan the school year ahead and you just need some time to think, what are you thinking about the school year ahead? How do you feel about what's coming up? This is Spark Homeschool Parent. I want to thank you for joining. And I'd love this to be a conversation. So the best way for you to be part of this conversation is to send me a quick comment. And if you're watching live, as some of you are, I'd appreciate that. And we can address those comments and questions as we're live. But also if you're watching the replay, continue the conversation. I want to hear some of your thoughts. And I love hearing where everybody's from. We started as a small group and we're expanding throughout the country, and viewers in Florida and Texas and throughout the United States as well as Canada. I have friends and relatives viewing from South Africa and Australia also, so that's always exciting. So welcome to all of you. I'm Diana Rolston, and today's conversation, it's one that we can all relate to as we homeschool, wherever we are in the country, the continent, or the world. Things are opening up, thankfully, and activities are becoming more available. But what should we look for as we plan for the future in the school year ahead? I do not want to get into a political conversation or judge any regulations or restrictions anywhere. I will just say that I live in Ontario, probably one of the strictest areas to live in the world in the last 2 years. We can debate that, but it has only been a few weeks now that capacity limits on indoor gatherings, bars, restaurants, cinemas, gyms have been lifted. And it was only March 1st that we don't have to show a proof of vaccination, although some museums Some theaters, some galleries in the area still require that. So even though things in my area haven't opened up, different areas throughout the country are at different stages. And it's actually, this is a perfect time to be talking about next year before we start signing up for all these exciting activities that are becoming available. If you're like me, I can't wait. I love having my calendar full of exciting adventures coming up, things to look forward to. So if somebody tells me about something, I am there. I'm so excited about different things that are becoming available and different adventures that I have to look forward to. But some of you are like, wait, I just need to wait and see, and that's so understandable. We don't want to be disappointed again. So many things we might have signed up for got canceled or changed or whatever. But there really just has to be a healthy balance, and I'm just excited about talking about it and bringing up the conversation, hearing different people's points of views. So there's a few questions I'm going to ask today. The first one is, how are you feeling about the last 2 years? And we'll talk specifically about the homeschool environment in the last 2 years. What have you loved? There have been so many great things that have come out of the last 2 years. Myself, I'm an introvert. I really, like all of us, we had to really make an effort to get together with people, and we really felt like we had to choose who we got together. So I planned to get together with those people who meant the most to me, who I have close relationships with. And those relationships grew. So I love that. Some of you have had the same experience. I love the outdoors, and I really took advantage of getting together with friends outside when we were allowed to. And for the most part, that was encouraged. So outdoor meetings, definitely. I really enjoy also quiet. So I could sit on my back porch and for weeks, sometimes like stretches of, felt like months, it was really quiet back there. All I could hear was the birds and some of the neighbors, some of the neighborhood children and the odd dog, and with no traffic. That was really nice. I also, in March of 2020, I was working at a school a couple days a week, and I was doing educational therapy. The school I was working at was at the other end of the city. My students, educational therapy students that I was working with, were at all different locations. I was driving around every day from appointment to the school to another appointment, putting on hundreds of kilometers every week. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I have 3 boys who are young adults now, and when we were homeschooling, they were part of a co-op, various co-ops. At one time, I thought it would be a great opportunity for them to sign up for a drama class, public speaking class. We didn't do a lot of history, so we did a history co-op for a little while. In our area, we had a day program where I would drop them off 1 day a week throughout the year. They also played hockey. 2 of them played a couple times a week. They played soccer. 2 of my kids did robotics. One of them was learning how to play guitar, so he went to guitar lessons. There were 2 youth groups that we drove to, hiking, the odd museum trip. Does that sound familiar to some of you before all of this? You were just driving around to different activities for one of your children, or you'd pile them all in the car and drive and drop one off here and pick up another and just like coordinate the drop off and pick up. And sometimes you stuck around, but you always had something else in mind. And a lot of us can relate to what homeschooling used to be like. We had recently got together with our local homeschool support group. And we brought up this question. A lot of people could relate to that. We used to call it car schooling and not homeschooling. But that was one thing that everyone loved, is that sudden interruption to the craziness of what we thought was what we wanted to do, providing all these opportunities for our children. And we didn't know how to get off that and how to stop that, but we were forced to. And actually, everybody unanimously decided or reflect and realize that that was a great thing. It was a good thing just to stop and reset. Another thing that the group consensus was that we all had relationships that flourished. Those chosen relationships with our certain people grew. There were some of us too who had lived on the same street for 10 or 15 years and just never got to meet their neighbors. But now, with everybody working from home and children have been home on and off, that's another thing. In Ontario, it's like over 20 weeks last year. But anyway, children were home a lot, so that our homeschool children could meet the other kids in the neighborhood and just grow and have those friendships that they never had before, even though they lived just a few doors down. We also had families when we had to create small bubbles, families that would bubble together. It's like now a verb. So they would bubble together, or they'd be bubbling or whatever. And like if 2 or 3 families became one bubble, they really, they intentionally did that. And that was such a blessing to them. We all had quantity of time with our family. And with that came a high quality of time. There were a lot of good things that came out of the last 2 years of homeschooling. I really encourage you to think about those, because those we want to bring forward into the years to come. And now we've had a taste of it. 2 years is a long time. And we know what really worked and what we really loved over the last couple of years. But then we got to think about, okay, there are definitely some things that we didn't love, some things that absolutely need to be changed, and we can do that now as we look forward to the year ahead, the school year ahead. At this homeschool meeting last week, we very emotionally and passionately agreed that there was too much online learning. If you have a child in high school, it's kind of the default sometimes to do classes online, and they continued. So a lot of our children did do online, but we definitely realized, although the benefits of it, a lot of drawbacks, and it is not something we want to continue. We also, and everybody can relate to this, we need to get out, we need to socialize, and that just became very apparent over the last couple years. We all just spent way too much time alone. So I encourage you to reflect on some of those things that you loved, some of those changes that you just loved and you embraced and you want to continue. But then also those things, don't just keep going the way it's going. This is a time to look to the next year, and those things that need to be changed, let's do that, change those. The next question I want to ask is, how do you choose which activities to sign up for? Like I said, in my area, not a lot of opportunities, not a lot of activities available yet. But for some of you, those are coming quickly. So you really have to make a decision. I really encourage you to be intentional and purposeful. This is the month that I'm going to be focusing on that like every month is a different pillar of homeschooling. Last month, I talked about strengths, discovering our children's strengths, exploring our children's strengths. This month, I'm talking about purpose, creating a purpose. What is your purpose? Creating goals. And that's the S and the P in Spark. So how do you choose which activities to sign up for? If you've heard some of my workshops and conference talks before, I've talked before about setting goals. And I'm just going to briefly talk about that now, but it's something that really needs more time to talk about, and there's lots to talk about it, and it's such an important part of our homeschooling that when I do a workshop again about goals, make sure that you're part of that because it's changed our homeschooling. But just to say that our goals are based on the strengths that we determined each of our children have, and there's 4 areas that we create our goals in. Academics, what do you want your children to learn next year? Also, engage in conversation, and you just might be surprised what your children want to learn also. They may have different ideas, and some of them you want to embrace. The second thing you want to set goals in is your children's spiritual goals. If you're a Christian, that's going to be how your children grow in their relationship with Jesus. If you're not a Christian, that may include meditation or spiritual books that you go through together, or yoga, or whatever it is. But an important part of everybody's life is their spirituality. The third area that you want to set goals for your children are their physical goals. How are they going to incorporate physical activity in their life, in their days and in their weeks? And you want to keep that in mind when you are choosing activities for your children. The fourth area to set goals in, and these are to be written down. Think about them, talk about them with your children and with your family, but also write them down. The fourth one is your children's social goals. And you can see how some of those will interconnect. So academic goals, if your child wants, if on that list is to learn an instrument, and in your area there is an orchestra or a band, that's going to incorporate the academic goal of learning an instrument, but also the social goals that you may have for your children. So that would be an activity that you definitely would want to sign up for. Or if there's a youth group, that maybe the spiritual and the social goals also, or the physical. Easy when you do team activities or team sports to incorporate that physical and social. So I encourage you to spend some time looking at your goals for the next year, and with purpose and intention, sign up for those activities that meet your goals. I just want to stress that. Sign up for those activities that meet your written goals so that you do it with purpose and intention, and you don't just get carried away with everything that sounds so exciting that becomes available. Now, things are different now, absolutely, and things are going to be different as we sign up for new opportunities next year. Some of our children have developed some worries. I'll use the word anxiety, but I don't mean like clinical anxiety. I just mean some anxieties, nervousness about getting together with other people. And that's completely understandable. Our babies haven't had the opportunity to be hugged and held by other people, to be in different settings. Our young children, like those that are 5, 6, 7, don't remember what it's like to play shoulder to shoulder with other children, or play without masks, or wrestle with each other and just have that close contact with others. They don't remember. It's been a long time ago for them. And then there's our preteens and our teens, where socializing is so important for their development, and they just haven't been able to do that appropriately. So there's going to be some nervousness, just because they haven't been doing that for a little while. And then, like my children who are in their early 20s, getting out and meeting people is such a huge part of their development also, and they just haven't been able to do that. So there's going to be some anxiety, some nervousness when you talk to your children about signing up for new activities. I was looking for a little bit of like advice or something I can pass on with regards to those. And here's just a few things that were suggested. Check in frequently, as we do as homeschool parents. We're with our children a lot. Engage in those conversations and listen. Listen without interrupting. Validate their feelings. Share the way that we cope, because we have nervousness too about getting back and interacting and signing up for a whole bunch of different activities. Let our kids know it's normal. And teach them the ways that we cope. I recently listened to a podcast about when our bodies are tense, like different signs of nervousness. It tells our mind that we're anxious. So those coping skills of deep breathing and relaxing and calmness teach our brain to react in that way too. So keeping our bodies relaxed and calm, those are important things for us to teach our children. And also just watch for those early signs of anxiety. For some kids, it's going to be biting their nails or being fidgety or irritable. For our older kids, worry, restlessness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, trouble sleeping, all those types of things. And then our smaller children who aren't able to communicate a lot, you may find tantrums and meltdowns and aggression. So keep those in mind. The most important thing is to keep those conversations open. Keep your children part of the decision making of what activities you're going to be re-engaging in or signing up for. And keep in mind those goals that you have, that you've mutually come to together. One of the most important things that we all agree on is to stay connected, to seek out relationships, to make a point of getting together with those that we have relationships with and that we love. But it's just remember, it's not going to be the same. It's going to take a lot of energy this coming year as we incorporate activities back into our schedule and our children's schedules. There's procedures and there's going to be continued restrictions, and yeah, things probably will change every once in a while. So it's going to be tiring. Keep that in mind. Yeah. The third question I want to ask you, for you to spend some time thinking about, is how are you feeling about the future? What are you looking forward to? There should be a lot of things to look forward to. In this question, I want you to think back to the first question. What things have you enjoyed over these last 2 years that you want to keep part of your routines? For myself, I want to keep getting together with friends outdoors. I really enjoyed when I want to get together with a friend. We go on a hike or a bike or a walk or whatever and doing things outside. I'm going to keep doing that. And I've made the decision to do that. I also want to keep not going to unnecessary large gatherings. It's not something that I enjoy as an introvert. And now I have the choice to cut that out as much as I can. A lot of you can relate to this. I am no longer going to be driving all over town. I'm limiting my appointments, and I encourage you to do that. Remember what it was like a couple of years ago when you were driving your kids, picking up and orchestrating all of that. Make the decision that you're not going to do that anymore. I also, over the last 2 years, March of 2020, started doing weekly Zoom calls with my family, who are all out of town, and that's definitely something that we're going to keep up. I realize the importance of my relationship with my family, my extended family. At our homeschool group, we also continued talking about this also, and everybody agreed that they will sign up for and do fewer activities with their children, but fewer, more intentional activities. Some of us decided that we want to do more sort of, I was going to say spontaneous, but they need to be planned when you're doing it with other families. But rather than sign up for a baseball league, these families wanted to get together and play baseball with their kids in the park. Maybe that's something that you want to do. Just get together with a few families every week or every other week and just meet in the park. Today we'll bring our baseball equipment. Next week we'll bring a football. The week after that we'll do something else. Maybe that's what you want to be doing. Also intentional and purposeful, based on those goals that you've written down. Everybody also, we're going to be evaluating. We all agreed that previously we would evaluate activities based on the day, the time, the cost. Yes, we can get there. Sounds good. But there's going to be a unanimous decision making now that rather than just signing up for all of these, families are going to be asking who's going to be there. What sort of social interactions are there going to be? Because now we're realizing that we want the academic goals, but we also want those social goals. We want activities that we can get together with people that we know. And for parents, we talked about how we, rather than just dropping our children off at different activities, we want to really intentionally connect with other homeschool moms and dads. So activities that can have sort of a waiting area for parents so that we can talk with each other and get to know each other and encourage each other on. So what types of things are you going to be using to help you with your decision making now as activities become more available and restrictions are lifted? So to summarize, yeah, I would love if you could just spend some time reflecting. What are the good? What are the bad of the last few years? What things do you want to keep? What things do you want to change? And before you sign up for anything, set your goals, write them down so that with purpose and intention, you can choose those activities that you want to embrace, and those activities, don't sign up. Make the changes that you decided that you wanted to make from this year for the next year coming. I hope this has been helpful, and I would love it if we could continue this conversation. So send in your comments, whether you're watching live or on the replay. That would be awesome. And just remember that at Spark Homeschool Parents, I'm committed to equipping you with the skills and the mindset to navigate through this ever-changing homeschool journey. These Facebook Lives are just a part of the conversation that we have every week. If you'd like to get more involved with our conversations throughout the week, join me at Spark Homeschool Parent, which is a Facebook group. If you want to see past Facebook Lives, I've been doing them every week now. I don't know how many there have been, but it's been 6 or 7 months now, so there's quite a few of them. You can go to the Facebook group Spark Educational Therapy. That's my educational therapy company. And in the video section there, they're all stored there. So take a look at some. I've had some great conversations with different people, and you might find something that's helpful there. I'll be here again next Friday at 1 o'clock, like every Friday, with another Facebook Live. And remember, until next week, as homeschoolers, we can help our children find the spark that engages their learning.